Yeah. Awesome. Sup, Bakes?
Sup, bro?
Welcome, bro.
So good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man. I don't really know where to take it. We're missing Marshall today.
Don't need him anyway.
Yeah, never have.
No.
So it's just been a drag, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll try and stay proper, and yeah.
Yeah,
So
I was going to ask, like, what's the vibe here with these podcasts? I haven't watched any of them yet, so I wasn't sure how casual or how proper we're going here.
It's probably going to be as loose as it'll ever get without having, because Marshall's not here, but just whatever, bro. Let's just talk about whatever. I like to talk about stuff that interests me so I can be interested, and which is easy with you because you live a pretty cool life. So
oh, stop it.
No, you do. It's awesome. So, so for people who may not know, where are you from, family, and what are you doing at the moment?
So I was born in South Africa, lived there till I was 15, and then moved with my family to New Zealand. And then from there we moved here in 2016 to Australia. So I've been kind of hopping about a bit. South African, Kiwi, now Aussie.
Yeah, come on.
Which is good. I think we're here to stay. Really enjoying the Goldie. So I've got a wife. We've been married for 11 years and a beautiful daughter, Karis, who's 9 years old. And I work as a videographer in the fitness space mainly at the moment. So my background's very much in fitness. Owned gyms, studied sports science. So very much a sport/fitness fanatic. And I always knew I was going to be, even since a young age. So yeah, pumped to be working in that space on the more creative side of it now, which is cool.
Yeah, so how did you get... I actually don't know. So I'm just asking these questions for other people, but how did you get into CrossFit? Because it's mainly CrossFit.
Yeah.
In NZ, like...
Well, I started going to the gym with my dad when I was like 9 or 10 years old.
Wow.
And just like copying him and, you know, doing some circus with him. And I remember even as a kid thinking, man, fitness is awesome, but it'd be cool to do it like in a more of a community. Like it was just me and dad going around the circuit. Everyone was just doing their own thing. They had the earphones in, just going around the circuit, doing their own thing. There was no real talking to other people at the gym. So I always thought, man, it'd be cool to somehow incorporate fitness and community. You know, I remember having that kind of vague thought as a young kid. And so after I did my sports science degree, I just started working as a personal trainer at a normal gym. And that's where I found CrossFit. Just stumbled across it on the website one day. One of the other trainers must have found it, you know, CrossFit.com, and we started looking at the workouts and started doing them. And if you know CrossFit, it's very different to your traditional gym routines.
Yes.
Some of the exercises are a bit more dynamic and a bit, you know, they can look a bit funny to the average gym goer. So we weren't very welcome at the gym, or doing CrossFit at that gym wasn't welcomed. And so,
oh really?
Nah.
What year is this?
It was frowned upon. So this would have been 2009, 2010.
And on that, when did CrossFit start to blow up, do you reckon?
Around that time, it really started taking off. I mean, it started back in 2000, but the first CrossFit Games was in 2008, and that's when the sport really kind of got some attention, you know. So I kind of got involved in the early days when it was just starting to really take off. And it's very countercultural. It's very like, it started off very underground fitness. Like the CrossFit gyms are like in a back street somewhere in a warehouse, no branding, no signage. It's just down and dirty, you know, like it's just real fitness, no mirrors.
Yes, so, come on, no mirrors.
Yeah, and so a lot of the movements, like the Olympic lifts and the gymnastic stuff, is not stuff you'd see in a normal gym. And so people would just look at you and go, what is this person doing? You know, like that's not fitness. And so, so I decided to break away and start my own gym.
Did you just break away like that? Like,
luckily, so there's about 5 of us at the same gym, 5 instructors that all decided to just go out on our own. So we all signed leases in different warehouses around the city in Auckland, and we all started our CrossFit gyms within the space of 3 months. 5 new CrossFit gyms opened up, and we all broke away from that gym that we were working at. So it was pretty cool. We filled up a big container full of equipment from China, and just started. Didn't know what we were doing, but just had a crack.
That's sick. And was this ANFIT?
Yeah, this is ANFIT, yeah. So still going to this day. Started in 2011, and it's still going strong now. So
cool. And you've sold a...
Yeah, I sold that in 2009. So this is the one in Auckland.
Yep.
I opened one on the Gold Coast when we got here, which was a major mistake. I got here and I was like, I don't know what to do. And I saw this warehouse and I was like, that'll make a sick gym, and just kind of rushed into signing a lease and got cracking again. But in hindsight, it was probably a mistake to start that gym. Didn't go very well. So I closed that down after 3 years.
Yeah. I want to stay on that, but you didn't find God through this. Hey, you found God when you were younger.
Yes, I grew up in church. Mum and dad have always been passionate followers of Jesus. So I've always had great examples of what it looked like to be a Jesus follower. But I think like many kids, just God and Jesus was just the Bible stories, really, to me. Like I never really experienced them for myself, even as a young kid. There might have been moments maybe where I felt God's presence, but for the most part, it was like that was mum and dad's thing, and we were just coming along for the ride, And they were very involved in church, like went to all the meetings. I think back then, the church we were at, they still had elders and stuff. So dad was an elder at the church, I believe, and mum was running the kids ministry. So we had no choice. We just went along and slept under the pews and, So that was great. But I experienced Jesus myself when I was 18 at a youth camp after being a bit of a rebellious teenager, probably like a like an undercover rebellious teenager. Like you wouldn't have been able to tell. I was very good at hiding what I was doing, always put on a good face, and people thought I was a good kid, but I was hurting deep inside and doing some dumb stuff behind the scenes. So yeah.
And this is then in NZA.
This started in South Africa. So I had my first 2 years of high school in South Africa. And I think that's a big part of it. We moved from SA to NZ when I was 15, about to turn 16. So like crucial time of life, like I made some really good friends in South Africa. All my rugby friends at school, at high school, were like so tight. They were my whole world. Like I still remember I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about my mum and dad or my sister or anything else. All I cared about was my group of like 10 mates, just hanging out with them all day, getting up to mischief and playing sports, and then being ripped out of that to go to a new country. It was it was rough. Yeah. So
you obviously remember how that felt.
Yeah, so turning up in New Zealand, I could understand English because we watch movies in English, but from where I'm from in South Africa, it's like Afrikaans through and through. You never get to speak English. So up to that point, I never spoke a word of English myself.
Oh, really?
Nah, so I'd listen to it and I'd understand it, but I'd never practiced like actually saying the words myself. So here I am, a 15-year-old, not able to speak very good English, not having any friends, and just feeling super insecure about where I'm at,
Dude, and you would have been fairly cool in South Africa.
Yeah, I was I was good at sports. I was all top sports team. So I would consider myself one of the cool kids, back in high school. And then turning up at a new country, new school, and just feeling like you don't know anyone, no one knows who you are. And so that's kind of like the recipe for like latching onto something that will fill you up and make you feel valuable, So,
Was that like love for fitness? Was that something that you held on to in those years at that age?
Yeah, sport, definitely. Not so much fitness, like as in working out, but like rugby, tennis were my two main sports. And so I just kind of dove in deep and, spent hours playing rugby and tennis, Yeah. In fact, I actually left school when I was my second last year of school. I don't know what they call it here in Australia, like whatever the second to last year is. Year 11. So halfway through year 11, I was like, I'm going to just try and make it as a professional tennis player, and actually left school and moved from New Zealand to Melbourne with my tennis coach, or what I thought was Melbourne, but ended up in a place called Wonthaggi. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's on the coast of Melbourne. It's just like, I don't know, probably like an hour's drive out to the coast of Melbourne.
Really?
Called Wonthaggi, bro. It's rough.
Sounds thuggish.
So ended up there, and it didn't go well. Like I didn't play any tournaments. My coach just started working, and I was just tagging along. So I ended up going back to school. But anyway, it's a whole other story, that one.
Where were your parents?
Back in Auckland, back in New Zealand. So they let me come over as a 16-year-old with my coach. They were supporting me, like thinking I'm going to play all these tournaments, maybe make it big, and it just didn't quite go that way. My coach was a bit of a muppet. We realised, yeah.
Was he a Christian dude or no?
Nah. So they just send me off in faith. Mom's very faithful. Like, your angels look after you. Off you go. Yeah.
That's so
She's always been like that. They've never been overprotective. Like, I've always been able to roam myself. Roam around and do my own thing as a kid.
That worked out, eh?
Yeah, worked out all right.
That's so sick.
Yeah.
So you came to Melbourne, well, one thuggy, but Melbourne,
Yeah.
and pursued tennis at 16, 17.
Yeah, 16, 17, yeah.
For how long?
I think it lasted 3 months. It was supposed to be like a year, maybe like a year of commitment to see if I can make it. But after 3 months, I was like, that's not working out. Like, I'm not in Melbourne where I thought I was, which is like like probably the hub for tennis in Australia. You know, it's where the Australian Open gets played.
Yeah.
There's lots of local tournaments, but I couldn't drive myself, and my coach was working. He was coaching, and I was just I was playing. I was getting good, but I wasn't putting that into practice and actually playing tournaments, which I should have been doing. So yeah,
I've never actually even heard of one thuggy.
Yeah, look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to NZ, back to school, rugby, eh?
Yeah, so I kind of made the call around that time to leave rugby and pursue tennis because I knew there was more money, you know, in tennis and less injuries and whatnot. So so I kind of gave up the team sport and just did the solo tennis thing. Yeah.
And then so your encounter with God was not long after that, like 18?
Yeah, so I moved to New Zealand and I met a girl, a South African girl, who was in exactly the same boat as me. Cool kid at school, moved from NZ with her family, couldn't speak much English. And so we just became like best buddies, started dating, going out. And so I guess the same feeling I had towards my friends in South Africa, like they are my world, that they all that matter. She became that to me. It's like, this girl is everything, you know, like it's me and her against the world. You know, we both kind of felt each other's pain, you know, like we're just these South African kids in a foreign land. And so it was just a disaster. Like we were just so unhealthily in love with each other that, it was the most unhealthiest relationship you could ever imagine, you know, just obsessed with each other, like spend every minute of every day together.
Yeah. Yuck.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, total yuck. Exactly.
Yuck.
Yeah. And so, so I kind of got caught in that. And so
is she going to church at the same?
Oh, so again, when you grow up in South Africa, everyone's Christian. Everyone goes to church. It's what you do on Sundays.
Same as America, eh? Everyone.
I guess so. Yeah. Everyone knows the Lord, you know. Yeah. But neither of us were really following Jesus. You know, like we started sleeping together, you know, as teenagers, and it was just unhealthy. You know, so I felt pretty trapped actually. After a couple of years, I felt pretty trapped in that relationship. You know, super insecure. You know, like just was always thinking that she was going to cheat on me, and I was just so insecure, you know, as a teenager. So I was always worried that I was going to lose her. I was so scared and fearful that I would lose her.
Crazy. As a teenager, right?
Yeah.
Did you have any reason to feel like that?
I mean, yes. If you don't have anything else in life and you've got this beautiful girl, like she's just everything to you, you just feel like, she's your prized possession. Like she was my identity, you know?
Yeah.
Like that was the one thing I was like, I could walk down the street and go, I've got this beautiful girl next to me and feel like I'm someone, you know? So I think just the insecurity just drove that unhealthy obsession with her. And so I got invited by someone to the local church camp. There was a Pentecostal church in the neighborhood, and got invited to that camp. And that's when I really met Jesus for the first time, where I really experienced his presence for the first time. You know, as real as, you know, you sitting here and talking to me, that's kind of what it felt like that night at camp. So that kind of changed everything for me at the age of 18, yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, so I went to this camp, and the guy who spoke that night, he spoke on pretty much everything I was struggling with in my life at the time. He spoke on relationships. He spoke on insecurity and purpose. Like literally, it was a room full of teenagers, and I felt like I was the only one sitting there, and he was just speaking straight to me. Like it was like the message was just custom made for me, you know. I don't know how long I spent in that auditorium, but it felt like a lifetime. I felt like I was just there forever. Like I was just on my face, you know. It was just one of those encounters where I was just, you know, crying, and you know, just everything just became clear. I was like, I can see a way forwards. I can see that life is more than just relationship that's back home, you know. She wasn't at the camp, so luckily, I think that would have been. Yeah, it wouldn't have been the same. So I went to this camp without her. And I think that the power that relationship held over me just fell off that weekend. You know, I kind of, I just realized that there was more to life than this relationship, you know? Yeah.
It was consuming.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. In fact, I can still, the message that got shared, or the scripture that was shared around, was Matthew 6:33, which is, seek first the kingdom of God, and he will add all your heart's desires. It talks about the birds of the field and the flowers in the field and how God looks after them.
Yes.
And that really clicked for me. I was like, okay, cool. If he can care for the flowers and the birds in the air, surely he'll look after the things that I need and want. And so I took him to his word. I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to commit. I said to myself, I'll commit to 1 year. I'll go home. I'll break off this relationship, and I'll spend 1 year seeking your kingdom first, whatever that looked like, whether it was, I just like read the word, prayed, whatever I had to do. I just like, I'll seek your kingdom and see, I'll put you to the test and see if you really do care for me and fulfill my heart's desires if I do that. And so I put him to the test for a year. I just dove deep into the Bible, just devoured it, read everything I could read about the Bible and the stories there, and went to church every Sunday and, joined all the small groups and all that. So I went hard for a year after that camp.
At 18?
At 18, yeah.
Bro.
Yeah, so I went to university and started like my first year at uni, I started like a prayer group on campus. I was so passionate. I was like nothing. I just went all out, 100% for God. But it was for a year. I had a time. I was like, I need to, at the end of this year, I need to see that I'm a different person, that you are providing for me, So yeah, it came through.
Dude.
Yeah.
So, and you're studying exercise science so during that year, did some crazy things happen, or you just sort of stuck it out and like, what was that year?
Yes. I mean, I got so involved in the youth at church. I made a whole new group of friends, which really helped, because I broke it off. So I broke it off with my girlfriend, which was really tough to do, but at the same time, really freeing. But then, just going to church and being part of the youth group, I made some great new friends, and, as part of study groups, I had things to do to keep me busy. I started leading a small group. So, lots of things happened that year. Lots happened. So,
and at the end of it, did you have like a date? Were you that strict, or did it just kind of come around?
Yeah, I think I probably did have a date, but I think because of the change that was happening in my life, I think I soon realized that, hey, this is that's the real deal, I think I met a new girl at the youth group at the church that was, in love of God and love Jesus and following him. And, so I think a lot of the things I was seeking, a lot of the emptiness in me got filled within that year. And so I think I must have I can't remember getting to the year and going, sweet God, let's have a look. Let's take an account of the last year, see if you've.
So I've here on the 27th.
See if you've made the cut, and, but that never happened. It just continued to get better from there.
Man, that's crazy. I really love that you did that, eh?
Yeah.
Like that you were like, all right, let's do a year.
Yeah.
That's
totally.
actually gangster ass.
That's good. Yeah, I'd encourage someone like to do that. Like if you're someone who's watching and you don't know God for yourself, put him to the test. Like read his word, look at the promises and go, sweet, let's see if I seek your kingdom first. But you've got to actually do it, obviously. Like like it's easy to read that stuff. It's a different thing to actually seek his kingdom. Like what does it look like? And to me it was a lot of late nights, reading my word and praying as a teenager, in my room by myself, or with another mate or whatever it was. I actually had to invest and put the time in, and and I don't know how I did that because even now as an adult I struggle with that sometimes, the discipline of reading and praying. But it must have been the Holy. Looking back now, it could have only been the Holy Spirit that gave me the strength and the hunger to actually seek Him.
I agree, and I've felt similar things in my life.
Often I long for those times. Sometimes I'm like, I think back about that year and how intimate I felt with God, and it was definitely a season because I don't always feel that way. I don't always feel that close to Him. Months go past or years go past where I don't feel His presence, or But I think back about that time a lot and go, man, I want that with you, God. Like I want that intimacy and that realness. Yeah.
Do you reckon He enables you to have those moments or encourages you in those to have a massive input, something like that, but then also to carry you through so that there's times later on that you're like,
100%.
I want that again?
In my experience, God takes you under His wings in seasons where He really nurtures you and carries you. And like we can talk about another example shortly of that with Benji, my son. Like there was a season there where I was like, man, I've never felt God's presence like the months after that incident. So there's definitely seasons where God takes you under His wing. In my experience, where you feel closer to Him, where and then there's times where it's like, okay, I'm not feeling His presence. How am I going to be faithful? Am I going to continue to seek Him, even though it doesn't feel like it's a response, And I think that faith building season is as important, But you do end up. I do long for those times of intimacy with God. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah.
So backing it up to 2008, 2009 is when you bailed from the gym to start Anfit?
Yeah, or 2011, I opened the gym. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Yeah, so I must have been there for about 3 years, from like 2009 to 2008 to 2011 at the gym, and then left in 2011. Yeah.
Are you with Bex at this point?
And BMX, we met at this gym at the we call them Globo gyms. So in the CrossFit space, we refer to like mainstream gyms as Globo gyms. So we met at the Globo gym.
Is that an American thing, or is that?
I don't know. I think it's a CrossFit thing. Yeah. The Globo gym.
Globo.
So we met at the gym 2009, and we got married in 2010. So she actually walked through that journey of me, like with me, leaving the gym and starting.
Oh, that's sick.
Starting the CrossFit gym. We did that together. Yeah.
That's sick.
So I met her. I knew who she was. So I started going to a church in Auckland, and I knew that I'd seen her before, and I knew that she was the pastor's PA. Bex is 6 years older than me, so she was always kind of like, it felt like she was out of reach. You know, like I felt like there's no way I could ever be with that girl, you know. But I was always attracted to her, and you know, I definitely noticed her. And then she started coming to the gym with another girl that I knew, another friend of mine, and so started paying some extra attention to her. And I actually,
you're a personal trainer, right?
I'm a personal trainer. I remember actually texting her, like going on the gym's database, which is probably highly
illegal.
Yeah, not legit for like a
frowned
staff member to go and find someone's number on the database and message them.
Hey girl, I was watching your squats and I just want to help you out with your form a little bit.
It was pretty much that, bro. So you can, it literally was, because on the gym database you can see the attendance. So I would go and look at her attendance and notice that she hadn't been in for 3 days. So I just text and say, hey, it's Wykie here from Bodytech. I noticed you haven't been in for 3 days. Let me know if I can help with anything, you know. So that was cool. Yeah.
Which what she would write back?
Yeah, I think she knew I was flirting with her. So we, you know, but I was still very scared to actually ask her on a date. So the pastor of our church he came to our gym as well. And so I remember talking to him one day and said, hey, what do you think? Like, I really like your PA. What should I do?
Like your PA.
Yeah.
This isn't Marsh, eh?
No, it's Pastor Paul de Jong. Yeah. Yeah. So Paul just said to me, just do it. Take her for invite her for lunch, you know, just do it. So I ended up doing it. And we were supposed to go to a nice cafe, but everything closes, like cafes close about midday in Auckland. So I remember our very first date, we were supposed to go to a nice cafe, but we ended up at Burgerfield, which is like
I know Burgerfield.
It's not even as good as Betty's Burgers. I don't know. It's just like a dirty burger. Oh, it's not dirty. It's nice.
They opened here in Mermaid, eh? Was that Burgerfield?
Oh, yes, that's Burgerfield, yeah. And then we went to a Burgerfield and had a burger for lunch, yeah.
They got good burgers.
Yeah, it is good burgers, actually. Yeah. So that was our first date at Burgerfield in Ponsonby, Auckland, yeah.
Was that your idea or her idea?
I can't remember, man. That was the only option. I think there was just nearby the cafe that we were meant to go to.
Cafe's closed.
Yeah. So, and that 6 year age gap was definitely an issue for Bex. Like, she struggled with that in the early days. Took a while to kind of come around, you know. I would have been 2010. I would have been, 23, maybe. What's that? Yeah. How long ago was that? 3 years ago? 13 years ago? I'm gone.
Yeah. Oh man, don't give me maths.
Anyway, I think I was 23. I think from memory I was 23 and she was like turning 30. You know, so she's like a 30-year-old woman. You know, going out with this 23-year-old gym instructor who's just
personal
fresh
trainer.
out of university. You know, so yeah, it was a bit of a battle for her to get around to being okay with that, but.
Cradle snatcher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nah, not at all. That's awesome. That's so good. All right, so then you pretty much plant the gym together. She's with you as you do that.
Yeah.
You're been married for.
We got married in 2010, and then we opened the gym the following year. So we've been married for 1 year. Yeah.
Practically first year of marriage.
Started a brand new business. Yeah.
That's hectic.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long did it take before you were like, oh, we're doing well here, this is successful? So
I actually at the same time as I started the gym, I also started a job with the New Zealand Police. So they
smart.
Yeah. So I had this job with the New Zealand Police where I was doing all the testing for the recruits. So anyone that wanted to join the police, they came through me. I tested them. So that was quite good. Like working for the government, I had a really nice I think there's only 3 or 4 of those positions around the country for the police, so it was quite a sought after position that I landed. So that was a really nice safety net to then start the business, and it was so flexible. The hours were very minimal compared to your normal job, yet I was getting paid pretty decent for it. So that was a real godsend, like having that, and my boss was really good at letting me slowly reduce my hours with the police as I was growing my own business.
Nice.
So I've always,
perfect.
So when it comes to the business
Perfect.
stuff, like I've always been a big advocate for not just cutting your ties and making the jump, but actually to mitigate the risk as much as you can, and to just start the side hustle and put the extra hours in and grow it and do it safely, you know.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, because I think some people get pumped up about business and just go, you know what, I'll just quit my job and have a go.
Just jump.
And just put way too much pressure on themselves. And if you have a young family, especially, that's just not wise, I don't think. So
Kind of made that a similar decision at the moment.
yeah,
Same thing.
Yeah.
Going in with Dan.
Yeah.
It's like doing what I'm doing for that exact reason. Take a bit of the financial pressure off.
yeah,
Balance it out. It's really hard and it sucks. It's the harder option
yeah,
because it's easy to just go, woo, let's trust
Let's
the Lord.
go.
Let's go.
exactly.
Then God's like, you're going to have to work 70 hours a week, son.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
how I probably want to get to, I have a question on 26, like what the hardest thing for you has been, which I think I know the answer. But I think getting into like that, because the business as a young married man, like newly married man, running a business and being a Christian, that's a tough gig. And you're not relying on the church to pump in your customers. I'm actually really interested about that. Like, how was that?
Yeah, well, actually, I did rely on the church a lot to pump that. So,
Praise the Lord.
actually, Marshall
Every Sunday.
he's got a big part to play in this. Like, the space that we leased was one of the warehouses that was attached to church.
Oh,
So
sick.
Yeah, so church had these massive warehouses that they use for storage. And I was like, Marsh, do you reckon I can like start my gym in one of these warehouses and then just go from there? And he made it happen. So it started off as this little cage. I'd say I was 4, maybe 5 meters by 5 meters max, like 25 square meters, tiny little square thing with like, it was a cage. It was literally like a cage. We built a cage around this little space.
3 times the size of this room.
Yeah, it was tiny. And so we just built a cage around it, started this gym, and then slowly I just took over more of the warehouse. So every like 6 months I'd negotiate a bit more space. I ended up renting the whole warehouse, which was massive. So it just, grew pretty quickly. But yeah, I did actually have a lot of the staff from church, because it was quite a big church. There was a lot of staff there. A lot of the staff would come down and do the lunchtime class. A lot of church members would start to come along. So we actually had quite a heavy Christian influence in the gym, which was awesome for the community. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
And you saw community pretty influenced by that?
Yeah, massively. So, so I always had a heart to actually build a community, not just a gym for the sake of fitness. Like I wanted people to actually be involved in each other's lives and build friendships, In fact, our motto at the gym was people first, fitness follows. That was kind of our motto.
Yeah.
Got a tattoo to my arm there, people first. So that was always my heart. And then having lots of, the Crizzos in the gym as well. Crizzos is like...
Crizzos, yeah, I got it. I picked it up.
Christians.
Yeah, Globos, Crizzos.
Crizzos, yeah. Having the Crizzos in the gym obviously helped with that, because Christians are just so intentional when it comes to, taking interest in people's lives and whatnot. So yeah, so our gym had a real special community vibe to it. Every CrossFit gym kind of brags about the community, but yeah, ours ran deep. It was good. Yeah, it was legit.
I think Christian vibes really boost a CrossFit gym, because it is like that.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, we're doing this together. Like, pick it up, let's go.
Totally.
Which is totally different to the Globo.
The Globo gym, it's very much do your own thing. Don't bother me.
Yeah.
Yeah, look in the mirror at my biceps.
Get those selfies before you head off to work.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
Sick. Okay. So, that gym is running then for how many years before you have Karis?
So we had Karis in 2012. So literally the year after. So we went, got married, then the next year started the gym. The next year had our first kid. So it was kind of like bang, bang, bang.
Let's just knock it all out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. So the gym was still pretty early stages when we had Karis. So she kind of grew up with the gym.
Yeah.
Which was cool in its own way. But we didn't waste any time, obviously. Yeah, I always wanted to be a young dad for some reason. I always liked the idea of being a young dad.
Yeah, same.
So I'm pumped on that. I would have been, not very old, 24 maybe when I had Karis.
Yeah, 25, 26.
Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then how long after Benji?
Benji 2014, so 2 years later.
Shucks.
Yeah. So basically, we had Karis, fell pregnant with Karis the month that we decided we'd get pregnant. We're like, hey, let's have a kid, and happened first month.
Shucks.
And like, it will be a good gap. We thought 2 years would be a pretty nice gap. It'd be awesome if we have a boy. And 2014, same thing. Hey, let's get pregnant. First month, bang, got pregnant. Found out it was a boy at 20 months. At 20 weeks. And so it was looking all perfect. You know, it was like, hey, got a girl, got a boy, 2 years apart. It was looking like things were going to go well, you know. Yeah. Do you want to go into the story
then,
from there?
and then because I just think like, and then probably the hardest thing, you and Beck's face just rocks you unexpectedly, because there was everything was smooth until it was time for him to come into the world, hey? Or did you get warning?
No, we got warning at 20 weeks. I mean, something to mention that's probably important when it comes to my testimony is probably prior to that, like prior to Karis even, we had a pretty rocky time. Well, no, we didn't have a rocky time. I just had a tough time coming clean about something in my life to Bex that I thought would ruin our marriage. And it's probably, you know, like if binge is the worst things ever happened to me, I think coming clean to Bex about a struggle in my life would probably be a close second to that, you know.
What struggle was that?
Yeah, so as a young dude, I think I was like 8 or 9 years old when I got exposed to pornography for the first time, and just something that kind of took hold of my life for a long time, and something I struggled with and just couldn't kind of get rid of, and carried into marriage. And so I was like, man, I can't, like I have to come clean about this to my wife. I knew that the thing that would break the power of it would be confession, but at the same time I was so scared because I was like, she's going to leave me. And then I'll probably lose my business because people ask like, why did you guys get divorced? This was in my head like a reality. Like this was like 90% this is going to happen. Maybe 10% she'll have grace for me and it'll be sweet. But this is what I believed as a young married dude. Like,
jeez, man.
Yeah. So I was walking around this thing. I was like, I've got to be honest with my wife, and I'll just take the risk. And if I lose her and I lose my business, then so be it. But I can't. Like it was eating away at my life. You know, like I was just hating myself. It was keeping me away from God as well. So it was just really affecting me. And so I came clean to her about that. And she just had so much grace for me, you know, like just.
Bro, what did you do?
Oh, you won't believe it. Like, so I'm like, the only way I can do this is if we're just away from everyone and everything. Like I can't do this during a normal week where I've got a coach at the gym and she's got to go to work. I've got to do it when we're away somewhere. We've got some space and time to talk through it, and where neither of us can run away. We have to face it and talk it through. Yeah. And the only chance I had was on a weekend away for her birthday, bro. Oh. So I was taking her away for her birthday, and I was like, well, we're away now. We're away on this little weekend getaway. We're alone. Like it's a birthday, but it's the perfect opportunity. And so I broke that news to her on her birthday. Well, not on her birthday, but on her birthday weekend, you know. And yeah, man, she just responded the way that Jesus would respond, you know. Bro. Yeah, just loved me, you know, was broken for me, felt sorry for me. Was obviously hurt, you know, and confused. And I think a lot of women that find out about these things that, you know, men struggle with, they don't quite understand it, you know. They feel betrayed. Yeah. Which is completely fair enough, you know. But yeah, I mean, her response just to me again just confirmed. It was another pivotal time in my life where I was like, man, God must be real. Like for her to show me this amount of love and grace, there must be something in her life that's real. You know, like that's not normal. Like you just So she just encouraged me to seek help and get connected and continue to be honest and, you know, tell as much as I need to. But even to this day, she encourages me in this area, you know, of sexual purity to make sure I'm connecting with guys that will keep me accountable. And
she's amazing. That is amazing, and amazing for you as well, because to feel that what you were feeling, and for the 90% chance to be the horribleness and just a small chance, and then for you to go, no, let's go. But then I guess as well, for her, it's probably there's also a large aspect of she's like, oh, how vulnerable is my husband being with me now? And like, there's a lovely like trust thing in that. So that's powerful, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there was a lot of trust lost and trust broken. It had to be rebuilt as well, you know, like there was definitely a period there where it's like, I felt like I lost a lot of trust in her, you know, again, which is completely understandable, you know, like, it brings up a bunch of other questions, you know, so it wasn't as easy as confess everything's sweet. It was
Yeah.
definitely a journey to walk, and but yeah, that was something I wanted to make sure I mentioned on this, because it's a big part of my story, I think.
And, thank you.
And an important thing for both men and women to know about and understand, because it is such a real struggle for men, and it does destroy so many people's lives,
Exactly like you said as well, the keeping it dark, like keep it dark, keep it dark, keep it dark.
Yeah, I mean, I remember fighting so hard to try and sort it out before I got married, and I just, just dragged that rubbish into my marriage, and it's just, if you can be open, honest before you get to that point, before you commit your life to someone, it'll make for a much smoother ride. So
save some pain.
Yeah, so if you're not married yet and you've got any of those kind of struggles, or I guess any struggles in life, to seek help and be open, honest, and try to get as healthy as you can for your wife, or for your husband.
And you can do it.
Yeah,
you can.
It can be done. It can be done. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I know I felt challenged just before Samantha and I got married.
Yeah.
That exact challenge, what you said, it was like, you're going to take this into your marriage?
Yeah.
And I'm just blessed that it was something that God was wanting to deal with straight up.
Yeah.
So that was, did you guys have Karis at that point?
I don't think so. No, not when I confessed to her that. But then, I mean, this is something that, again, like I mentioned, didn't just get fixed overnight. It's something that I had to kind of work through. And there was more slip-ups and times where I had to come clean to her. And as soon as we had a daughter in our house as well, it just intensified her, she's always had grace and love for me, but she also can't stand this stuff, which, she's got a legit hatred for this stuff, just
Fair enough.
zero time for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's this beautiful mix of just this anger and hatred towards this injustice, but also just this love and grace towards a husband. But then that intensifies when you have children in your house, and so so there's definitely some times and some conversations and things we've had to had, since having Karis in the house as well, having a daughter in our house. So so then we had Benji. So Benji, we went for our 20-week scan.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Went for our 20-week scan, and they found out, or they said, the nurse basically wasn't happy with the scan and sent us to a specialist. And so the specialist did some more scans and found out that his brain hadn't developed the way it should have by 20 weeks. And so, he had some pretty severe brain dysfunctionalities. And so they couldn't quite tell. It was quite a rare thing. So they couldn't tell us what that actually meant. They said, look, it could come out fine, or it could have severe challenges or minor challenges, but basically be ready for a bit of a surprise and perhaps some major challenges when it comes, I think the areas of his brain that they said it affected would be his throat, his ability to swallow food or speech. So we just so that obviously rocks you as a parent to find out there's something wrong with the kid at 20 weeks. Yeah,
so where's both of you guys, did that just shatter you both?
Yeah, absolutely.
Driving home?
Yeah, man. Oh, it was such a fog, eh? I can't even remember how we how we took it or what we spoke about. But I remember both of us being, connected to God. We just obviously ran straight to Him and just started praying every day for Him. And I remember actually doing I was doing a social media post about Benji every single day until he was born, scriptures and just speaking faith and trying to encourage many people to jump on board and pray for him.
Pray with you. And
awesome. So I really rallied people and just believed that, he'd be all right and it'd be a miracle, So we kind of believed for the best, At the same time, did a bunch of research about his condition and what it could mean. And so we were kind of prepared for that as well. So he came along, he was born, and then, so he came out, did a big cry, which was a good sign.
Yeah.
And then they whooped him away. I went along with him. They put pipes in his nose and
straight away
because they obviously knew that there could be complications. So they just basically didn't take any chances. They just connected him up to oxygen and all the different things straight away. Took him away to ICU, the intensive care unit, and I sat with him there. And then Bex came and joined us after she was all stitched up. And then hours and hours went by. They were just doing tests. And then the doctor finally came back to us after 13 hours and said, look, after looking at everything, he's way worse than we thought he'd be. It's actually not only the brain, but his lungs hadn't developed properly, and that he wouldn't be able to he wouldn't be able to survive on his own. Like he wouldn't be able to breathe. He'd have to be just on a machine like this forever. So yeah, and then we had to make that call to basically turn the machines off. Yeah, and so I mean that moment is probably both the most painful moment of my life and the most life-changing moment of my life, all together. So I got to help Benji, got to hold them while they kind of disconnected all the. I've got a beautiful video of this actually. Just blowing my hand while they just disconnected all the pipes and took away all the oxygen. I could see the life drain from him. He went from a beautiful little red, full of blood baby to just like grey little baby with no, just no life in him. So, and I remember that night I slept on a mattress on the hospital floor next to Bix's bed, and God was just so thick in that room, man. Like I've never experienced God, even more so than that night at youth camp, than that night in hospital. Just the amount of peace. And yeah, the best way I can describe it is just God took me under his wing, just literally felt like I was under his wing. I was in this little bubble where nothing else mattered. I had I couldn't think about anything else but just, just my wife and Benji and, God and looking after us. Yeah. But like you can imagine, just this is a fog. Like you just can't believe that it's happened to you, You just lie and you go, how could this have happened to me? Like you hear of people losing kids and whatnot, but you just go, this will never happen to me. And then sure enough, you'll, and we actually thought we wouldn't see him again. So they took him away for biopsies and things. And we thought that we'd just get him back in a casket or, but they took him away 24 hours and then brought him back and said, look, he's back. He's just come back from biopsy. Do you guys want to see him? And we actually got to spend time with his body for like 2 days straight, which was, it sounds so weird, but it was an amazing experience. We had the special room where he was with us and, Karis came and visited. She was with her grandparents, but
she's the baby, eh?
Yeah, exactly. So, it was such a strange time in life, man. Like just being in a hospital room with your baby that's not there, and you got to put him on ice at night time, like next to your bed there, and it was really special, but really strange as well. But yeah, I mean, God taught me so much through that, and obviously I can talk about it now so freely because He's completely healed us and walked us through that that journey. But at the time, you walk out of the hospital and you go, I'll never get over this grief. Like this pain will be with me forever. This is me now, But it's amazing, it's 7 years later, and I can honestly say that God's completely walked us through our grief and healed us, and we've been able to bless many people that have lost children that we've been able to minister to and talk to, I mean, there's so much more I can say about that story.
Oh man, you answered my questions that I had about it anyway. Thanks for continuing the talk because I couldn't actually. I just can't. I can only imagine, eh? I can only having kids, and my heart just hurts even, just to think about it. But just to hear God, that blanket, you just being blanketed by Him, I get that because I've walked through that in other circumstances, when there's just that. So, it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we just can't wait to. So we haven't been able to fall pregnant again since then. So the reason I kind of specify that we fell pregnant straight away with Karis, straight away with Benji, is that after that, after we kind of, I think it was maybe 12 months after, maybe we'll try again.
Let's go again.
And wasn't able to fall pregnant. The months just went by, we couldn't get pregnant. We moved here. We were actually thinking about moving here because we loved the school system here. We thought that there was way better opportunities for him. We thought we'd move here because if he was going to be special needs, there'd be way more support in Australia than over in New Zealand for his kind of challenges. And obviously seeing the support that Miller's received, and stuff like that, we got adamant that we wanted to bring him here. So after he was gone, we were like, well, do we still move to Australia or not? And we decided to still do it because...
so glad you did.
Yeah, so am I. We're like, what the heck? The one thing that Benji did for me was it took away the fear of failure completely. Because I'm like,
oh wow,
I've lost my son. I don't care if my business fails. I don't nothing is worse than that. I've experienced the worst of the worst, so nothing can touch me. That's kind of, it gave me the sense of like, I'll just risk anything. I don't care. Like, let's go to Australia. If the business fails, I honestly don't care. It didn't fail. It went really well, but it's just given me this sense of like, I'm happy to take risks because I'm like, life's too short. I'll have a crack. I don't care if I fail. Because I've lost everything already, you know. That's kind of, so that's a really special gift that Benji's given me. It's just this kind of ability to take risks and not be fearful. Because nothing matters in the world, really. It's all this trivial stuff that we care about and stress about, you know. We was going, so we moved here. We actually had some IVF. I think we had 2 rounds of IVF. Couldn't get pregnant, and so that's been a whole journey in itself. Kind of coming to this decision that, you know what, we're happy with our family. Like, we're content and we're happy to not have another child. You know, it's and it's hard because, you know, especially in Christian circles, you can have, you know, people encourage you and say, you know, believe God can do it, and obviously you can, but we've had to get to the point where, like, you know what, we're happy to let this go. Like, we're actually happy with having Karis, and there's so much benefit there's so many things you can do with one child that you can't with many, you know, like there's so many free, like she's turning 10 and she's getting pretty independent, and, you know, we can go and travel, and, you know, there's so many cool things, you know, with having one child, you know, like every situation's unique and special, but there's some cool things about having just one kid, you know.
Yeah. I think it's with so many things. It's with everything is your outlook, how you view everything. There are pros and cons to all of it. And it must be tough to be in our circle, because Sammy and I were talking about it this morning, eh? And and Sammy, I don't know, I think she'll mind me sharing it. She's like, it's hard, eh? Because I don't know if it's what God's put on my heart or if it's just what I really want for Bex and for Bakes.
Exactly.
And I'm like, who knows, you know, like, how do we know? And we just talked, and then we prayed this morning, and we're just like, I don't know. I think we were just talking about you guys because you were coming on, and
well, let's put it this way. It'll have to be like a Jesus Mary scenario, because we're not trying to fall for, like, we've literally made complete peace of the fact that we won't. We don't want another baby. And so, I mean,
next minute, God's like,
yes, the Holy Spirit would have to impart something special there, because, but it is hard, because it's people don't know that we've made the decision, that we're at peace with that decision. So you do still get a bit of you can still get the odd encouragement, and like, I believe God wants to do this and this, and it's like, we've actually walked through this with God, and we've come to the conclusion that we're content and we're happy, and this is we believe this is God's plan for our life, you know. Yeah. So
and that's the main thing.
Yeah.
I think that's the best place to be anyway, regardless of any encouraging words or things you're going to hold on to, as you hold on to we're good where we are now.
Yeah. And I mean, it's hard for people because people don't know what to say. Like, I remember at Benji's funeral, we had a beautiful like celebration service for him, and some of our friends had just had twin boys, bro, and they were at the funeral with these twin boys, and you can just tell that they felt so bad for being at Benji's funeral with their new twin boys. And it's always been really easy. Like, we've always been like, nah, man, like we're so happy that you've got a healthy boy. Like, it doesn't affect us.
Yeah, we're so happy. You don't have to go through what.
Yeah, totally. People just don't know what to say, or they avoid talking about it. Where we love hearing Benji's voice. When someone asks me about Benji or talks about him, I love it. You know, because it's like I just recognize that he's alive. He's there. You know, like he's with God, and he's I just like when people acknowledge him. You know, acknowledge Benji. So it's cool. So I like talking about him. Yeah.
That's cool. That's good to know.
Yeah,
I
think it's helpful to know if people like when I think if anyone's watching and they've got friends or family that lost children or lost someone, I think most people I've spoken about, or actually everyone I've spoken to that have lost people, they appreciate it when you actually talk about that person and not avoid the topic. You know, bring them up, mention their name. You know, like it makes you feel like, oh man, this person acknowledges that was a real person in my life. Like that was my son. Yeah, wow. It's really helpful. It's really cool. So I think it's better to just go and actually bring the person up and talk about them rather than avoiding the topic. Yeah, that'd be my advice.
That's good to know. And I've heard similar things.
Yeah.
I've heard similar things.
Yeah.
Cool. I know we're almost wrapped up. So one thing that I really want to talk about is what you're doing now, just briefly, and wherever this goes, I don't know. But I just think what you're doing and where you've been, like during COVID, you go over to America and hang out in that CrossFit world with like the GOAT, I think.
Yeah.
And just doing what you're doing is epic. Man, how, like, just quickly, because we'll wrap it up, but like, how did this come about? Like your gym, you say sort of was a bad decision, but then out of that decision, you start doing something that's just that you're having so much fun doing, that you're meeting and doing the coolest stuff.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit about that with us, whatever you want to say about that? And
yeah, so I think it's a mixture for me of God opportunity, like God's favor in my life, and me having a crack and not being scared to have a crack. It's those two things meeting. It's going, I'm doing my part and it's taking risks. So I've always had a creative streak, like I've always liked creative stuff, but I've never really pursued it. And so when the gym was coming to a close, I was creating videos and taking photos for the gym to try and promote it, and fell in love with photography and videography, and like to the point where I was like lying awake at night thinking about the next video I was going to make, or I just couldn't stop thinking about it. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to just try and become a photographer. And like I've only just now I feel comfortable calling myself a videographer or a photographer. Like I've just had this imposter syndrome the last 2 years, thinking like, what am I doing? Like I don't know what I'm doing. You know, I'm not a photographer or a videographer. I shouldn't be doing this, but I've just had a crack, and God just blessed it, and I've obviously got some kind of natural ability, and just networking and talking to people has brought us some really cool opportunities, you know. But really, it's just me putting myself out there, and then God doing His thing, I think, because like you say, I went to the CrossFit Games and spent a week with the 5-time champion. He's the fittest man alive the last 5 years in a row, and there's only one person that can film him, and he doesn't live in the States, live in Australia. You know, like, how does a person from Australia that's only been doing video for like 2 years get to work with this guy? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me, but it's been an amazing journey, and I'm so grateful for it. Like, so many opportunities are coming up now to travel more, and I think so many we put so many limitations on ourselves from what we think is normal and what people expect. Oh, you can't travel during this time. You know, like COVID's going on, you can't travel. It's like, why not? I'll stuff it. I'll try and make it happen. I'll email the government and apply for an exemption. You know, so I did that and it came through. I was like, yeah, sweet, you can go and film. So like, okay, well, I'll go then. So you can just make things happen if you just not let limiting beliefs like what society thinks is normal. Just don't let that settle on you, and just you can do whatever you want to do. You know, like like if you want to move to Australia from New Zealand, move. If you want to move from South Africa to New Zealand, move. Like, just do the thing you want to do. You know, have a crack.
And I think what about you as well is that there's nothing short of is like giving it a go. So you're saying have a crack, but you have a crack and stick at it and go hard and like put everything into it. Because I think a lot of us lean towards, we try once, it doesn't work in a week.
Yes.
Oh, just didn't work out. It's like, nah.
Yeah.
Go hard, which I've seen you do, because I watched you in the gym, and then I watched you doing, and all I ever think when I look at you is, I don't go, oh, geez, he got lucky. I'm like, man, he works hard.
Yeah.
He puts himself out there, but he works hard, and he's awesome. So, I think the producer over here wants us to wrap it up.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sweet. So, man, you are an amazing person, amazing, father and husband and brother in our community. Thanks for coming in to share a bit of your story, and
thanks, bro.
You're the man, bro.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.